adjourn the special meeting of the Folsom City Council for June 14th, 2022, and call to order the regular meeting of the Folsom City Council for 2022, June 14th.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Just for the record, there's no announcement or reporting out for tonight's closed session.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
The clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Kozlowski.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Aquino.
Here.
Chalem Chella.
Here.
And Howell.
Here. If you'll all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any agenda updates?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening. Item 13 on tonight's agenda is being continued to the June 28th council meeting. And there is additional information for item 15, a copy of which has been provided to you previously. And I believe a copy is also available on the table in the back.
Okay. In which case, we will move to our business from the floor. That is the opportunity for anybody from the public to speak to us on any items that are not on tonight's agenda.
Okay, you have one request to speak tonight from Jason Davis. And Jason, we'll start the 3-minute timer when you start, and you'll also notice there's a lighted red, yellow, green for you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
I'm Jason Davis. I'm a resident of Folsom. First, I wanted to thank the city for opening the respite center on this past week due to the heat. That was awesome. Looking forward to more of that, and especially when we have smoke hitting, and that we're well prepared for that. So I know that was appreciated by those that really needed it. I wanted to address a few issues related to our unhoused residents who have chosen to live in Folsom on public property, and more about our city homeless management plan. It's been brought to my attention that the City of Folsom Police Department has been issuing abatement flyers to some of our unhoused residents and not to others. And I really want to emphasize the not in that. I don't know why this is not consistent, but it's definitely a concern. And I'm not referring to resolution number 10674, which was titled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Folsom proclaiming existence of a local emergency due to extreme fire danger. The notices that I'm referring to are titled Public Nuisance Declared. And it says specifically, Public Nuisance Declared. This campsite has been declared a public nuisance by the City of Folsom pursuant to Folsom Municipal Code 9.10060, which specifically states, any campsite established in the city in violation of this chapter is declared to be a public nuisance. And the chief of police is authorized to abate the nuisance and remove camp facilities and camp paraphernalia as authorized by law. It refers to 9.10020, which defines camp, which means to any of the following: to sleep any time between the hours of 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. in any of the following places: outdoors with or without bedding, tent, hammock, or other similar protection or equipment, in or under any structure not intended for human habitation, whether with or without bedding, tent, hammock, or other similar protection equipment, or in, on, or under any parked vehicle, including an automobile, bus, truck, travel trailer, or other recreational vehicles. These folks have been given 3 days to abate and are being asked to remove all personal property prior to the date indicated above and clean up the campsite immediately. It has also been brought to my attention that other police officers are telling some of our unhoused residents to move without being given abatement flyers. This is very concerning, and this is confusing. Based on the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit Courts, the September 2018 ruling, homeless persons cannot be punished for sleeping outside on public property in the absence of adequate alternatives. I'm confused. Others on the street are confused. I'm confused because, and others are because, is it because it's messy? Why are people able to stay in cars? I was recently told that cars were okay.
Jason, I'm going to need you to wrap up.
All right, I'll wrap up in a moment. Supposedly no one is being fined, which is great. They're being asked to move and being told to go to SAC. This is cruel and unusual punishment based on the 8th Amendment. When are we all going to get serious about a shelter here in Folsom? Thank you.
You have no further requests to speak under business from the floor, and I don't see any hands raised online.
Can we just ask the callers if anybody wants to speak business from the floor?
No hands have been raised.
Okay, seeing none. Then our first scheduled presentation is for proclaiming June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth, National Freedom Day in the city of Folsom. And I believe that's supposed to be Michael Harris. Councilmember Kozlowski's going to make the presentation.
I'm gonna talk first. Yeah, come on, stand here. Stand here. All right, everybody. So I am delighted to make this the presentation of this proclamation. I'm especially delighted that it's Michael Harris that gets to receive it. There just about isn't anybody I've ever met who is more passionate about history, specifically African American history, than he. So he's the absolute perfect person to receive this. So, Michael, if you want to hold that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is a proclamation of the mayor of the city of Folsom proclaiming June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth, National Freedom Day in the city of Folsom. Whereas our nation was conceived on July 4th, 1776 with the Declaration of Independence, one of the foundational statements of the Declaration was, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, declaring that the slaves in Confederate territory free, paving the way for the passing of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. And word about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed for over 2 years, finally reaching authorities and the African Americans in the South and Southwestern United States on, finally, June 19th, 1865. And June 19th has a special meaning and is called Juneteenth, combining the words June and 19th. Juneteenth honors the end to slavery in the United States, and it is considered the longest-running African American holiday. And Juneteenth, also called Juneteenth National Independence Day, Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Black Independence Day, and Juneteenth Independence Day, commemorates the emancipation of African American slaves. It officially became a federal holiday in 2021, and it is a day that should be celebrated by all Americans. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Folsom City Council hereby proclaims June 19th, 2022 as Juneteenth National Freedom Day in Folsom. Juneteenth is an opportunity to learn about American history and the ideals of equality and freedom. We encourage residents, schools, businesses, and community groups to celebrate Juneteenth as a day of remembrance and celebration, thus proclaimed this 14th day of June, 2022. Usually Michael's not at a loss for words, so I'm going to assume he's got some things he'd like to share.
Well, it is like, it's really magic to me because, and I see my friend here, Bob Holderness. See, y'all only get to see a piece of this. So I was in Washington, D.C., literally beating people up to like make Juneteenth a holiday. One of the president of the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation died. And then, Senator Massachusetts, Markey, the first railroad west of Mississippi, and the trains came from Boston. And, we had to have this bipartisan conversation. And we've been doing this here for 20 years. It's nothing new. Dave Cox, Senator Gaines. I mean, there is no other place in America more prepared to have this conversation than Folsom. And we're going to have it tomorrow with the California State Parks and Rec Commission. This was Mexico, and for 300 years this was Spain, and then it became part of America, and it all happened right here. You know, the African founding father of California owned this land where we're standing on right now tonight. And so why can't we just celebrate? I mean, today is Flag Day. You know, I'm a veteran. You know, I swore my life to defend this flag. It is the day that the Army was established, today. Thank you. And my friends that I've known a long time, we're gonna fix this. We have to, because in order to form a more perfect union, it's not easy. It takes a long time, and some of y'all know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And our next proclamation is for Western Rodeo Days, and according to my piece of paper, this is going to Joe G. Uh-oh, somebody's been designated.
He is Mr. Marshall.
Joe G has turned into Adam Frick. So,
Adam's a grand marshal this year.
this is a proclamation of the mayor of the city of Folsom proclaiming July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 2022 as Western Rodeo Days in the city of Folsom. Whereas the city of Folsom proudly recognizes Folsom's Western heritage and acknowledges the benefits of preserving the traditions and customs of the city's history, and whereas the annual Folsom Pro Rodeo is a cornerstone of Folsom's links to its colorful past and is thoroughly enjoyed by residents and visitors alike, and whereas this year's event, to be held July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at the Dan Russell Arena, marks the 61st anniversary of the Folsom Pro Rodeo and marks it as one of the longest running events in Northern California. And whereas this year's Grand Marshal and the rodeo's own Uncle Sam is Adam Frick, an astounding community partner and volunteer who's been a member of the Chamber of Commerce and a rodeo volunteer since 2005. And whereas the 61st anniversary event highlights include traditional rodeo events such as saddle and bareback bronc riding, steer wrestling, team roping, barrel racing, bull riding, performance by the Painted Ladies Drill Team, flying cowboys, rodeo clowns, nightly fireworks, mutton busting, and live music in the saloon under the stars. And whereas in honor of the traditional patriotic theme, Folsom Pro Rodeo will celebrate with the ever-popular in-arena spectacular fireworks. And whereas the Folsom Pro Rodeo is made possible with the assistance of hundreds of volunteers, thousands of fans and spectators who enjoy every minute of the exciting action-packed rodeo and entertainment, now therefore I, Kerry Howell, Mayor of the City of Folsom, do hereby proclaim July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 2022 as Western Rodeo Days in Folsom, and call upon all citizens to cowboy up or cowgirl up and join in the festivities celebrating the 61st anniversary of the Folsom Pro Rodeo. Be it further proclaimed that the Folsom City Council extends sincere and best wishes to the Chamber of Commerce for a successful rodeo season, proclaimed this 14th day of June, 2022.
All right, I wasn't prepared to speak today. Oh, I don't need this thing. But I do want to thank the City Council and, of course, the City of Folsom for keeping this long-standing tradition alive for 61 years. This is an amazing event. It's probably the biggest event in the entire region, and it's right here in our backyard. I can't speak enough about it. I may, at the beginning of my time at the rodeo, I may have not taken it as seriously as I do now, but I can tell you that after I've been involved for as long as I have, this event is so great, not only for the people of Folsom, but in the entire region. We've got a few events coming up. On the 30th is an event that's happening at one of the long-standing businesses in Folsom called Hanley's. If you're familiar, Hanley's Western Wear, they're having an event for our volunteers. One night of the rodeo, July 3rd, is dedicated to our military families. So come out and check that out. We have a very special guest that night. I can't say who it is, but I guarantee you're really going to enjoy it. And every year, the rodeo makes lots of people happy, especially the kids. Mutton busting is my favorite event. So you'll have to come out and check that out. I appreciate all your time, and I will take no more of it. So thank you so much, Mayor. Oh. Best event at the rodeo is run by our very own Rosario Rodriguez.
Okay, speeding along to the consent calendar.
Well, if nobody wants to pull anything, I'll move items number 3 through 13,
I would like to pull number 7,
with
please.
the exception of number 7 then,
We have a
Actually,
motion.
13's being continued.
13's being continued also.
and 13 being continued.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Kozlowski?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem Chella?
Yes, ma'am.
And Howell?
Yes. And you had a question or a comment on 7, YK?
It's more on the comment side, not the question. I don't know whether you can, are you pulling, sir?
Yes.
That item? Okay. Thank you. You know,
No, you were on it.
yes. You know, I just want to call this one out in a very positive note to Mr. Marcus and his efforts. As we were going through this evaluation, Mr. Marcus, if we can scroll a little bit up. So he did a great job with, several evaluators for those 3 firms. And if you look at those numbers, the finally 60.3, 59.3. If we could have not opened the dollars, I know I have seen before. That's why I was just, consistently requesting for that. Besides the top quality evaluation, opening up the dollars and taking that into consideration before awarding to vendors. So I just want to call that one out and thank you for that. And that's a perfect example. And I have no questions, but I just want to call that one out. That way I can see it more on that kind of thing. Thank you.
Thank you. I owe it to staff.
So with
Thank-
that, I'll move resolution number 10864.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Kozlowski? Is absent. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem Chella?
Yes.
And Howell?
Yes. Which moves us on to public hearing item 14.
Item number 14 is resolution number 10861, a resolution adopting the city manager's fiscal year 22-23 operating and capital budgets for the city of Folsom, the successor agency, the Folsom Public Financing Authority, and the Folsom Ranch Financing Authority.
All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight is your second public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2022-23 budget, and you again have the opportunity to adopt the budget this evening. The purpose of my comments tonight is really to just return to the questions you raised at your May 24th City Council meeting and leave the bulk of the time for questions and discussion from you as the City Council. This is, of course, ultimately the City Council's adopted budget. First up, in terms of conversation last time, was a desire to fund the now vacant Assistant City Manager position. As you know, I did have an Assistant City Manager until about 20 months ago when I chose not to fill the position when my then Assistant City Manager retired. I did so because the Assistant City Manager retired during the heart of the pandemic and our financial situation was concerning and very constrained. I subsequently did not recommend that it be funded in the current fiscal year 2021-22 budget or in the proposed fiscal year 22-23 budget, as given the long list of unfunded positions in every single department, including police and fire, I felt that it was a nice to have and not a have to have. This has been a very hard trade-off, but one I have been very willing to make as I saw needs that were far greater organization-wide. I heard from some of you that you wanted to be sure that I, as your city manager, got the support I needed and that we had succession planning in place for the future. Thank you, and I appreciate support and share that important goal. I just felt that I couldn't in good faith put it forward in this proposed budget with so many unmet personnel needs citywide. I respect if it is the City Council's consensus to fund that position now. As you likely know, we have a contingency line item in the non-departmental section of the preliminary budget, and that is proposed at $900,000. We attempt to fund that line item every budget year. If those dollars are not used during the year for emergency expenses, the amount rolls over into our general fund reserve, which you've heard us call the rainy day fund at the end of the year, and it becomes an addition to our fund balance. So if it's the council's desire to reduce that line item by $375,000 to allow for the assistant city manager position, we can do that. I will repeat my caution from the last meeting that using or reducing the contingency line item is typically a recessionary or emergency tool, and doing so will mean the city is that much less equipped to deal with future financial challenges, including our own projected future budget gap, in addition to the projected recession that analysts are pointing to more and more as likely within the next couple of years. We can also fund the position by using the remaining unallocated American Rescue Plan Act dollars, which total about $500,000 right now. If you choose not to fund the assistant city manager position this year, I can commit to you that I will develop an internal training opportunity this coming fiscal year to allow interested department heads to rotate through the role in an acting capacity while balancing departmental responsibilities, which would in turn allow for more development of their mid-level managers who would then step up to acting roles behind them. So next slide, please, Stacy. All right, at the last meeting, we discussed also how we as staff felt we were really only able to put forward positions that are reflected in the Folsom Plan Area Financing Plan. And that was 7 of the 9 firefighters we will need to open Fire Station 34 in the fall of '23, and then 1 police officer, 1 dispatcher, and 1 animal control officer. We also recommended that you make permanent 3 limited-term firefighter positions designed to provide some relief to our fire department personnel. At the last meeting, there was some discussion from some of you about perhaps adding more police officers. Please rest assured that I would love to be able to add more police officers along with many other needed positions. Public safety is always our priority, and police and fire come first in terms of available personnel dollars in constrained budget times. You will note on your consent calendar that you just adopted that there was an item to submit a grant application for what's called the Community-Oriented Policing Service, COPS, hiring program. This would provide partial funding for 3 police officers. We have asked for 3 officers in that grant application. We will know the outcome in late September or early October of this year. I've discussed this with Chief Hillman, and he has let me know that the timing for the hiring of the 1 police officer position we proposed and putting that individual through the police academy works out such that we can wait for the outcome of that grant before we hire. As such, I respectfully recommend that we leave the funding for the 1 police officer, 1 dispatcher, and 1 animal control officer in the budget, and then return to you on this item once we hear on the grant. If we are successful in the grant, we will use those funds for that 1 police officer. If we are not successful in the grant, we will leave that position in the budget regardless, just as proposed. Similarly, if we are successful in the grant, we would recommend to you that you move ahead with at least 1 more police officer this fiscal year and another 1 the following year for a total of 3 new officers over 2 fiscal years. And if we're not successful, we will seek your direction at that time as to whether you'd like to add additional police officers using another funding source. Just as I described with the assistant city manager, your choices at that point for funding would be, absent the grant, would be the same as I previously reviewed. We can reduce the contingency line item, or we can allocate remaining American Rescue Plan Act funds. All right, next slide, Community Crime Suppression Unit, also called the CCSU. The Police Department's Community Crime Suppression Unit was discussed at your last meeting, and I wanted to report back to you on that as well. 3 police officer positions for the Folsom Planner area were allocated to the Police Department in fiscal year 2018-19, again, following the Folsom Plan Area Financing Plan. At the time of the allocation, there were no homes or residents in the Folsom Plan area, so Chief Hillman decided to use the positions to staff the Community Crime Suppression Unit, a team dedicated to address the quality of life issues impacting our city. The CCSU has grown to become an intricate part of policing in Folsom, with officers handling special crime trends, issues related to homelessness, illegal camping, light rail concerns, and much more. To be clear, I have zero desire or interest in eliminating this extremely important and successful unit, and Chief Hillman knows that. Chief and I have discussed other options for beginning patrols in the Folsom Plan area without dismantling the CCSU. Chief Hillman can speak more about the options if you want to hear them, but I really just want to return to this item to assure you that there are no plans to eliminate the CCSU. And finally, thank you for your thoughtful discussion and focus on fire overtime costs. Overtime is a large cost, as it is in most fire agencies. Overtime is a natural consequence of a 24/7 operation with minimum staffing requirements and mutual aid agreements. Some of it is reimbursable, much of it is not. I know you all understand and acknowledge, and you all said so last meeting, that we cannot ever eliminate overtime completely. Just for your information, as you'll see on the slide here, in the current fiscal year, we budgeted $1.2 million for overtime for the fire department. In the proposed budget, we bumped that up some more. It's currently proposed at $1.6 million. For context, we are already at $2.6 million in overtime for this fiscal year for fire. That said, I think that there were some primary questions that emerged from the conversation at your last meeting, and I wanted to do my best to answer those. The first question I heard when I listened to all of you was, why is overtime not wholly budgeted? I think there was a sense of, why aren't we just looking that cost in the eye? Well, we are, and we've done our best to chip away at budgeting for it a little more each year. As I mentioned, we've bumped it up a bit more this year in our proposed budget, but budgeting for the whole cost would decimate our budget, so it's a slow process. Also, it's a very dynamic number affected by many factors, including people leaving city service for other positions, injuries, illness, and other factors. And we cannot with complete accuracy predict who is going to take that overtime in terms of rank and compensation, which affects the dollar amounts as well. The second question I generally heard was, why can't you use savings in fire overtime to buy positions in other departments? Well, because again, this is not wholly funded, so there is no savings that can be used elsewhere. The only changes that make sense is to trade one category for another within the fire department itself. That is increasing fire salaries while decreasing fire overtime, for example, which would be a virtual wash. The third question I heard is, why don't you just cap overtime and ask the fire department to live within that cap? We can do that. That would indeed provide savings if it worked according to plan. Please keep in mind that to truly achieve savings, we would have to cap overtime at less than what we've budgeted. So for example, cap it at $500,000, since we've typically budgeted somewhere in the low $1 million range. But if fire then exceeded that overtime cap number and we wanted to stay within the budgeted amount, we would have to accept the service consequence to brown out at least one whole fire station to live within our means. And if we didn't follow through with that brownout and instead turned to overtime, and we had already spent the savings elsewhere in the organization, for example, for new positions, we would quickly find ourselves in a very compromised situation. The fourth question I heard is, so given the obvious unbudgeted overage, wouldn't it make much more sense to add and hire more permanent fire positions to reduce overtime? Well, in a perfect world, yes. In a perfect world, overtime should come down if you add positions. But I have to emphasize there are no guarantees to this. Life happens, events happen. We can't, with crystal ball certainty, know what's going to happen in terms of the need for overtime or what's going to happen to our fire personnel. And again, it is a 24/7 operation with minimum staffing requirements. This is not like a typical business where if someone is out, you just kind of cover with the personnel you have for a few days until they're back. We actually have to have the people there, and hence the need for overtime. We did give this some thorough analysis, including discussing this with our colleagues and staff who have served in jurisdictions facing the exact same challenge. There are not clear-cut answers because, again, the situation isn't static. We must remember that just because the numbers fall one way one year, it doesn't mean that that situation is going to fall exactly the same way the next year. That said, if it is the council's desire to at least try adding more permanent staff to fire to see what then happens to the number of overtime occurrences, we have a proposal to do that. We could add 2 more permanent firefighter positions to the budget. We would do this by reducing the overtime budget by the cost to add the 2 firefighter positions to the salary and benefit side of the budget. We need 2 more anyway to open Fire Station 34. We would just be funding them 1 budget year sooner than expected. We could then report back to you at regular intervals once those individuals are hired and see what's happening with overtime and see if it's having the desired effect and outcome. To be clear, it is likely that overtime is indeed going to go down in the fire department sometime late in the next fiscal year with the addition of even the 7 positions, and if we add 2 more, even better. But that overtime savings will only be for the very brief period, because it takes about 6 to 8 months to even onboard firefighters from the time you first place the job announcement to their first day of work. So we'd have to wait a while to see any change. And then we'd have them on board for a few months before we open Fire Station 34. There should be some reduction in overtime during that short span of time, but remember that the new positions are being hired in anticipation of the need to staff Fire Station 34. So when 34 opens, we will no longer have that extra flux, that extra buffer in terms of personnel. We will be right back where we started unless we add more on top of that. Finally, I want to acknowledge that I'm keenly aware that this budget is frustrating and not the budget any of us wants. But it is a budget that matches our current available resources, which are quite constrained. The council has been engaged in a strategic planning process this calendar year, which began with a deep dive into the significant budget gap we are facing in future years, including discussing the strong possibility of impending recession layered on top of that. We then continue with the discussion with the council as to where they'd like to see Folsom in future years, and each council member also weighed in as part of a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats exercise. As a next step, we sought direction from you as the City Council to then reach out to our residents in a community engagement process, which included conducting statistically valid polling and also pushing out a community survey. The polling has been completed, and the community survey is now out with a deadline for responses of June 20th. Just as we asked you as the City Council, we are asking our residents via survey what they would like to see most for the Folsom of their future. We are also asking them to rank city services in terms of what they value the most. We have let them know that we have discussed proposing a modest increase to our sales tax rate, but that absolutely no decisions have been made by the City Council, and we want to hear from our community. As you may know, many of our neighboring cities have approved local sales tax increases in recent years, but Folsom's rate has not been raised and remains at the minimum 7.25% plus 0.5% for the countywide Measure A transportation tax. I'm pleased to report that we have already received over 3,500 community surveys back from our residents. We will report back at your June 28th meeting with results from that outreach, and then we will bundle everything together to propose a strategic plan framework to move forward. With that, all of my department heads are either right here in this room or on the phone line, and we're available to answer any questions you may have. And that is all I have, Mayor.
Any questions of staff? Okay, we have 2 requests to speak from the public.
So our first speaker will be Jason Davis from the audience. And then I do see that there's a caller online with their hand raised, so you will be next. I'll let you know. And Jason, again, I'll start the 3-minute timer for you.
Okay, great. Again, I'm Jason Davis, a resident of Folsom. A couple questions in regards to budget expenses, and I do appreciate staff. I know they're working on giving me personally these numbers, which has been greatly appreciated. I would highly recommend that we look at our Navigator's $60,000 budget. I was told last year that she would be audited, there would be logs. I have no indication that self-help housing that provides that position is doing any of that. But I have asked for all year-to-date expenses to see what that person, what the city is getting for that position. I do appreciate the $25,000 line item that was given last year. and that is great. It would be great if we could get a bit more. I personally think that should go towards those that are working on transitional housing. And some of you sitting up here straight up told me that you are questioning how some of those dollars are going to be spent. I would suggest talking to those individuals and asking them and look at the books. Let's talk about the animal control budget. They're also going to be providing me personally all year-to-date expenses for fiscal year 2021-22, $325,000. Seems like a lot of money. I'd like to see what the expenses are, and I recommend that you guys do the same. $110,000 for another animal control officer. I don't know. I know I was asked in my previous position for us to help take over that role, and the budget was $200,000 at that time, and we thought that seemed very doable. We chose just not to combine that with our existing business. It wasn't something we were interested in doing at the time. But I think that $110,000 for that position, I can't help but thinking about, we're going to provide a department more money to manage animals, but the human beings that are unhoused in our streets are not being given the same respect in the way it's being managed as far as a budget line item. So for me, I don't understand that. Use a volunteer. I mean, I'd love to know how many dogs are being managed within that animal control officer position. So there's some ideas, but I would just highly recommend that some of those expenses, specifically the navigator expenses, be more dissected, as well as the existing animal control position. Thank you.
Okay, we have a caller on the line with a hand raised. Unfortunately, there's no name associated with it. So if you're the caller with your hand raised, go ahead and we'll start the 3-minute timer for you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Crystal Gordon, and I'm talking about item number 14. This is my first time calling. I'm congested, and I have no clue of what I'm doing, so just please bear with me. My comments tonight are regarding the full staffing of the city's CCSU. Not that long ago, the population of our community was much smaller than it is today. In fact, our town was so small.
Crystal, we lost you for a moment.
Okay. I'm going to start my spiel all over. Is that okay with you?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Not that long ago, the population of our community was much smaller than it is today. In fact, our town was so small that there was only one stoplight in the middle of the road next to the only restaurant we had, Denny's. Meeting up with a friend in the local coffee shop and heading to the park to enjoy the surroundings was about exciting as it got. Things were simpler then. Neither the stoplight nor the Denny's exist in our town today, and times have changed. Fond memories of gathering in the park and meeting friends to say hello only existed before light rail, law changes, increased population, and political climates took hold. These shifts changed our community forever. The change in environment showed its ugly head mostly in our neighborhood parks where families would bring their kids to play and meet for coffee. During this paradigm shift, our neighborhood parks would be riddled with illegal camps, knives, guns, makeshift weapons, drugs, infected needles, used condoms, alcohol containers, marijuana paraphernalia, and other miscellaneous disgusting filth. Citizens witnessed individuals shooting up heroin, overdoses, smoking crack, drug sales, assault, transients passed out in the playground, verbal abuse, destruction of property, dog fighting, inappropriate sexual behavior, and murder. Our quality of life was almost non-existent, and residents avoided these areas like the plague and walked in fear. Nobody wanted to meet with their neighbors or spend money, and parents were scared to let kids play in the park. Safety and security are vital to our strong economy and the health of our community. I'm not just asking, but I'm begging council to do right by our community and fully staff CCSU. I do not want to go back to the way things were, ever. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Crystal. We have no other requests to speak in the chambers, and I don't see any other hands online, but I want to give one more chance for anybody to raise their hand online who wants to speak. Madam Mayor, you have no further requests to speak online.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments from council members?
Yes. Yes, Mayor. I think we'll go to slide 1. That's what the first topic we talked about, Assistant City Manager. Thank you. And based on my experience and observing the other cities and listening to the Cal cities, and I did personally ask several questions, the importance of Assistant City Manager for the size of our city. It is evident not having one is in a risky path. And I totally understand last couple of years financial challenges, and we are coming back from the last sales, our sales revenue. We added another $2 million to our reserves because sales tax revenues came more than expected. So thinking that and understanding the risk and giving a help to our city manager, and also giving some focused activities. Again, I'm not just reading this from here. When I was there, I was focusing so much on the importance and how do we bring the value. Bringing the economic development under that assistant city manager and see how we can generate more revenue. Focused approach for that assistant city manager. Right now, we don't have one. It's not that I want to bring the economic development under city arm. Chamber is doing an awesome job, whatever they can do, but we still need someone from City of Folsom who has that hat, can be responsible for this council as well as for the general public. And the second one is Folsom South is growing. There is about 9,000 more homes are going to come anytime soon. We have already gone to close to 1,500 to 2,700 permits issued. So there is a workforce growth in this town, for this city. It's important. We have a HR department, recently promoted HR manager. Congratulations again. Having this kind of assistant city manager with a workforce development hat on it while supporting the city manager is a very important activity. All these resources things we were talking about, we are in a resource crunch, but that assistant city manager can dedicate fully part of his time, her time, to bring more consensus or the more informed things to this city. And the last one, but not least, we have over $100 million procurements going on from City of Folsom. Having an oversight on the procurements with an extra eye, we can always save a dime from that negotiation point from the vendors. These are the three things besides, assisting our city manager that assistant city manager can do. Yes, I can see that $375 cost here, but City of Folsom budget is $248 million. Can we save $375,000 from the $248 million to afford that position? I let my colleagues debate. That's my view, and I'll pause here. Thank you.
So YK, at the end of the budget in 2021, the one recommendation at the end of that meeting was, I think long-term having an assistant city manager position is critical long-term. I think long-term for support of the city manager. And the last year, just thinking of ways that I think our city can continue to grow with so many just things that are happening going into the future. For me, economic development is definitely one of the biggest ones. I think that an assistant city manager that has several key important roles, some that you mentioned, in addition to economic development, would be incredibly, I think, wise for our city long term. Some of the concerns I have is that going forward, a recession. I feel that this recession that's coming, it does concern me. And I think of two things. One, there's the $375,000 that would cost us, but if we can generate revenue with someone in this position who has experience in economic development and some of the other key things that you said, I think would be incredibly beneficial to our city in the long run. Funding options, reduced contingency line. For my understanding, it is currently $900,000. Is that what it is?
Right, it's
And-
currently 900,000.
And so if it was taken from the contingency line, that means that that money is set aside for emergencies, correct?
Right, so.
And historically, say, let's just look at the last 5 years, has those funds been used for emergencies?
I'll let Stacy respond to that.
Thank you. At least 2 of the 5, it has been used for emergencies. One of them was a construction, was it a water line or in
Behind the zoo.
area, and then this year it's the fuel tanks in the courtyard, and so usually they're very large projects that will use up most of that contingency.
You used it most. Is that what you're saying? Used it most?
And the amount of money that we went in the hole during the pandemic.
Yes, true.
That was, what, $6 million? 5?
Over the
Well,
course,
in
Yeah.
total, it's $20 million in lost revenue from the pandemic. And I do feel compelled to point out that, of course, you have to cover the position every year. So this is, the ARPA and the contingency, that's one time, and then you need to figure out where is it next year and the year after. So I just want to point that out.
Any other question or comment on this end?
That's about assistant city manager. I want to take one topic at a time, so that
Okay,
way,
so
you know,
I'm
we
going to
can-
kind of do a straw poll for whatever items, because I think you're going to bring up a number of items. Am I
Yes.
correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so just a straw poll, where are my colleagues on the assistant city manager position?
I have been pretty consistent in saying that I think we need an assistant city manager for obvious redundancy reasons, because, we benefited for many, many, many years having Elaine as an assistant city manager to others. But I also have enormous faith in the staff that we have, and if we can, bridge to the point where we can pay for that, I'm satisfied that the city manager's budget as proposed is satisfactory in that regard.
Okay, Sarah?
Not at this time.
And I would agree with Sarah, not at this time, and I think the expectation that an assistant city manager could be brought in to somehow oversee economic development, I think is, I've said this before, we did have an economic development position within the city for a number of years. It didn't work out for a lot of reasons I don't want to get into, and I don't see that should be the role of an assistant city manager anyway. I think that the arrangement that we have with FedCorp and the chamber is the only way to get that sort of stuff done.
Well, for me personally, I don't think this person is going to be doing it, but I think this person should have very strong connection and ties to what happens with ED, and that's just my opinion. I think there is a great benefit, even looking at some of our nearby cities that do that. Assistant city manager oversees economic development. I think the city of Rancho Cordova is one to really see that they have benefited from having that, and so I think if we don't put a focus on it from our end, I think in the long run we're going to suffer. And we are at a time right now that we should be looking at the future and forecasting and planning, and it's one of the reasons why in my recommendations to Elaine recently was, to have a strategic planning or truly professional strategic planning with a consultant that allows us to really see things from a higher level, that allows us to know what is important for us, that gives us vision, gives us goals, gives us something to work for. It gives accountability from us as a council to the city manager down to directors. And I think if we don't do that, and we have a city that says no to a tax increase, which I don't support, I think we're going to end up in a much more precarious position 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
So you're in favor of putting the assistant city manager position in this year's budget?
I would support putting the assistant city manager's position from and using it from the contingency line or using ARPA money and get us going. I feel, it worries me what's coming down the pike, but I feel like if we're going into a recession, we should start looking right now at some really important key ways into our finances, into funding, into generating revenue, and at least we can get ahead of the bleeding before the bleeding begins to happen. That's what I think. I think that forecasting right now and really putting effort into this would be to our benefit.
Okay, so are you in favor of putting the assistant city manager position in this year's budget?
I would support putting the assistant city manager's position into this budget.
Okay,
That's
thank
how-
you. So I think three of us don't want to do that until you do.
That's fine.
Could
Okay.
I just insert a comment here, Madam Mayor? So in my conversations with Joe Gagliardi, Choose Folsom is the economic development arm for the city. And in my conversations with him, what he thinks would be most helpful is just to have somebody at the city help shepherd economic development projects through. And we have a staff member right now who is acting as the economic development liaison. Perhaps we just need to empower her with a little bit more authority than she has. Granted, to do that, to give her more time to do economic development, we might have to backfill some people in the communication, right? But you could do that for a lot cheaper than you could an assistant city manager. Overall, my feeling is we need to hold the line on spending, but I'm just saying, everybody has a focus on economic development, and there are some creative, less expensive ways to do it, I believe.
Yeah. I'm going to make one more comment on 3 activities I was thinking for assistant city manager. I'm going to bring it back again. The procurement oversight. Right now, every department is doing the way the procurements has been. One, bringing the consistency. That's why in the previous consent calendar, I was bringing those examples, how by streamlining and negotiating with the vendors, even a 5% savings from the $100 million procurements is huge. Again, I see it personally, there is a potential for that. I'm just sharing that here as well. Well, I'm good with that. We work together, and I second what Mike said, Again, I first what Mike said. We have a great executive management team, no doubt about it. But still, that's what I see it. They're super busy with their short staff already. They don't have fully. Before 2008 recession, they don't have that staff. They're super busy. That's where this role is going to be helpful. And again, expertise matters. I know I don't want to disrespect any directors we have here. When a director is taking a role of at least we look for the expertise around that role and put that for that person to succeed. I believe personally, I think bringing that assistant city manager with that skills, where can I find that extra 7.7 cents by spending $1 more by somebody else is important.
Absolutely. And that, YK, that was something that I mentioned in our last meeting, is that while I think that giving our communications director economic development, I think there's a ramp-up period and there's expertise that we don't have. And I don't think we have time to do that ramp-up period. I think that there's professional expertise in economic development that we're lacking right now as a city, and so that's where I think it's. Yeah,
and I understand what you're saying, Vice Mayor Rodriguez. I do want to point out there seem to be kind of talking about two different tracks for this assistant city manager position. Traditionally in cities, the assistant city manager kind of comes up from the department head level, and so any of my department, there are some among my department heads who probably would want to be city manager one day, and it's a person that kind of rises up from those ranks and then trains as assistant city manager and becomes city manager one day. An economic developer is kind of a whole other career track. And that's fine also, but I don't think that we should expect that person to be a generalist on city issues. The value of a good assistant city manager is you can really throw them into almost every department. They may not be a fire chief or a police chief or a public works director, but they can issue spot and work on it. That's just a very different path than somebody who is, economic, development specialist. They're get the ringers, bring them in. They know they're already costing the city $375,000, and they apparently have to come right in and pay their own salary, and then some more on top of that to close the gap we have coming. So, I just want to be clear for the future when we are talking about this position that traditional assistant city managers, you're not usually going to find this economic development specialist. You're going to find someone, and I won't name, we have a department head that's working on this. You're going to find somebody who just is interested, who's getting training, who will learn, who has good contacts, and you need to give them kind of the space to, learn and grow, but probably not able to, hit targets like that to just pay for their salary. So I just want to clarify there are kind of two tracks there.
Okay. What was your next item, Wendy?
Next item is, if you don't mind, could you please move to slide number 9, please? Yeah. So last time, I think we have requested to take a look at how fire overtime is spending and see, instead of budgeting and spending extra, I have no questions on that one. That's what it is, that's what it is. Can we hire the people rather than keeping that much budget? And also help a police department with that delta. I'm not looking for new money here. I'm trying to reclassify the monies we have already accounted for by our finance director, adjust those ones. Tracy, I know you probably don't have the general fund budgeted additions last time you put it, 7 positions for plan area, 3 positions for limited term, but I can speak from here. If it is there, I would love to see it.
I can put it up if you'd like me to grab it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, please. So going back to while she's putting it down, I did ask several questions. Thank you so much for supplying all that information. Colleagues, sorry for taking a little extra time. It's important. If all goes well, we can make the motion tonight and pass this budget if we are ready, right? Let's clarify it. We did ask several questions, and we did get responses from everybody. So I'll probably go with fire. I did ask, what is our tentative timeline to ribbon cutting Station 34 in Folsom Plan area? It's about November 2023. Correct me if I'm wrong on that date.
That is correct.
That's right. November 2023. Usually 6 to 7 to 8 months to release each academy of 9 to 10, 11, 12 firefighters. 6 to 7 months, 8 months in a fair sense. Knowing the current shortages, even though Chief Casano has given all those, we are going with this, my gut feeling says, knowing all the construction challenges everywhere, there is no direct route for us to deliver the material to all those. Definitely there will be some delay. Just want to you guys keep that in your mind. There will be some delays. And ribbon cutting, yes, we want to do that in November 2023. There may be a possibility. So knowing that one, right now, thank you, Madam. Right now, we are trying to hire 7 more. We already have 3. Last year, our city manager hired 3 for a shift covering for every shift 1. And now we are making that permanent. And now we are adding another 7. Knowing in another 7 months, we will have 7 more, if everything goes right, releasing from the academy. They are not going to be directly used for Folsom Plan Area 34. So Chief Casano definitely will have more people before November 2023 to cover some of those overtimes right now people are spending. Hence, my request is what I did last time as well. Hire all 10 firefighters. I'm not saying no. Please support them. In case we want to beef up, transitioning from that proposed $1.6 million budgeted for fire overtime. It's only budgeted. Taking out $425,000 from that one and giving that 3 firefighters and releasing that $425,000 to hire 3 more cops. We need it. I'm not asking for extra money, readjusting, because over time, we are going to get in another 6 to 7 months, 7 more firefighters. But the station is not going to be ready at least 17 to 18 months from now. And one comment I want to make, why we need more police officers. There is already 4,000 people in Folsom Plan area right now. And Ms. Johnson is releasing every month close to 70 to 100 permits to come. So every month people are adding to that one. By the time even Chief Hillman hires, there may be 6,000 people, 7,000 people. Right now, even though we hired 3 police officers for Folsom South, those are using for crime suppression. So we certainly need that additional 3 plus proposed 1 police officer, total 4. That's my request. I'm not looking for more money. So there will be the top 7, people on the top 7 will help on the overtime.
Chief, please talk to us.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, Ken Casano, your fire chief. I'd just like to clarify one thing with the current academy that's going on and the 8 individuals that are in that academy, is that we are 8 positions short right now. So we're short-staffed 8 positions, so when this academy gets done and they all get cleared from their FTO time, we will be whole. And that's part of where this next academy would come into play, is that academy won't even start until probably after next year in 2023 in January. And that's why we're trying to ramp that up so that it will be ready, or we will have the personnel ready for the station November of 2023. And everybody that I've talked to, and that's why we have a management or construction manager, consultant, Warren Engineering, our architectural firm, they all say that that's doable. There should not be any delays. Now, is that 100% sure? No, because I don't know if there will be another pandemic or what may happen. But right now, the only shortage or slowdown that there is are dealing with electronic boards coming out of China. We still have a 7-month leeway on that, so they're not expecting any type of delay, and we are on schedule right now for November of 2023.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Chief. Whoa. So for clarity, okay, if the current academy participants are to backfill open positions that exist right now, and we create 7 additional ones for this coming budget year, you're saying that you won't be able to actually have anybody in an academy until into the next calendar year?
Well,
because if you're going to,
that's what we're on track for right now, because I can't have 2 academies going on at the same time. We don't have the staff or personnel or space to do that.
Okay.
The current academy right now will be done sometime in, July, I think, or no, September.
Okay.
We will be looking at probably putting out job announcements at that point, getting our recruitment going, and then so that we have time, because we're also during this time also we're going to have retirements. I'm anticipating at least 3 to 4 of those, up to 6, and then there are also, I have about, from what I'm hearing, I don't have anything concrete, but I have 8 personnel that are looking at other departments right now that may or may not put in. So this may be a huge recruitment. And I don't want to do something too soon because we'll just be doing back to back and we'll never get caught up. So it's kind of a, I'm trying to use my best judgment and expertise from what I've seen, and this is the timing and the planning that we've come up with.
Okay, so the finance director then, is the 993,678 a prorated amount of time
That's
for
correct.
those?
9 months.
9 months. Okay. All right. So
So Chief, you're happy with the 7 new positions and the 3 adjusted limited term to permanent?
Well, absolutely, I'm happy. I'll take more if you want to give them.
So let me ask my last question then. If it's not realistic that new academy is going to actually start with 9 months left in the current budget year, if it's actually going to start later than that, if you're not even finishing the current one until September.
It may
right?
start a little bit later than
so
9 months left in the year.
So if that was the same budget line and it said 9 positions for 6 months, that would give you some more flexibility in hiring potentially.
Yes, and again, like the city manager tried to give us 1 position over to help kind of curtail some of the overtime and keeping our workforce, not having to work as much overtime. Having the 9 positions would keep us at that 1 over.
Okay, thank you. That's kind of what I was getting at. I'm personally not at all alarmed by our overtime budget line. I just wanted to make sure that we have enough staff to have the flexibility to have enough guys and gals show up when needed. So
Yeah, I think we're dealing with some pretty significant burnout issues, or we were within the fire department, and that's what led me to make the decision to create those 3 limited term positions with Chief's Counsel. We don't want to burn out, no pun intended, our fire personnel. It just gets to be too much.
yeah. So just in terms of compartmentalizing this part of the discussion, not the trading firefighters for police officers. I'd be really happy if we assumed that this was prorated a little bit more and the chief was clear to try and hire 9 when it was time for the next academy.
Well, we can always do that as a budget adjustment.
Just putting it out there in the
Yeah.
public so everybody knows where I stand on it.
Right. I just want to make one comment to Elaine. Your call last year, hiring those temporary, it's a great call. Thank you. Because we're already force hired and so much frustration, and thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on this? Do you have any more?
Oh, I don't know how council wants to just open here.
I just want to make sure I understand what you're, YK, are you suggesting that when we hire the 7 for the Folsom Plan area and the 3 limited term to permanent, that is going to reduce the overtime budget enough to afford to buy 3 police officers? Is that what you said?
Indirectly.
And
Indirectly,
knowing that Chief Casano just said that even when this fire academy is done and we have those 8, he's going to be fully staffed for a very short period of time until he has retirements and possibly folks leaving for other agencies.
True.
And then we'll be short-staffed again.
Staff leaving, joining, that's part of our routine activities, whether we have additional positions or not. But where we are going, we know for the last 10 years we have spent over $2 million on overtime. Having more people definitely helps. That's where I'm going.
It could help. It will likely help until Fire Station 34 opens. And once Fire Station 34 opens, we no longer have that buffer. And so I want to be really clear here that I cannot promise you a reduction in overtime by adding staff, because we just don't know what lies ahead. We don't know.
So, Madam Mayor, if you're taking a straw poll on this discussion, I would say, yes, of course, everybody wants more police officers. But again, I would say hold the line on spending, and I wouldn't want to hire 3 new police officers with the hope and the prayer that the overtime budget comes down enough to fund them.
Especially given that the chief just told us it's only going to be maximum 3 months. and that we could be well short-staffed again, which means that it could not only not save any money, but the overtime could actually increase. So,
Yeah, I was explaining to, I think, one of you in agenda reviews, is a little counterintuitive, but it is possible to add positions and then actually increase your overtime because you have more people that can take overtime. You know, we just don't know what's going to happen with each of those individual people. So it's just, like I said in my remarks, just because things go one way one year, we have no idea what the next year will bring in terms of military deployments, you know, workers' comp claims, injuries,
Wildfires.
COVID. I mean, COVID decimated our fire department at one point, you know, because they were on our front line. So you just can't predict it so easily. It's not static.
Rosario,
I'm good.
you're good with status
The
quo?
recommendation.
This recommendation, as opposed to YK's recommendation?
Well, I see what, I get where YK's going, but it's the overtime, yeah, it's just the overtime that I struggle with taking overtime and adding positions with an expectation that it's going to reduce it. Yeah, I struggle with that.
Okay. Mike?
No further comment on this topic. The recommendation as it stands is fine. I just, when we get to the point where we're setting up an academy next, I'd like to take a look at if we can actually overhire at that point a bit to absorb some other retirements and things.
Yeah, depending upon what happens when we get to that point.
We at least give the fire department a chance to get ahead.
I think because we're dealing with a large number of retirements, honestly, citywide, once we have, you know, retirement announcements in writing, we have been working very hard to just come right in with the hiring as quickly as possible, so we're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's clear for me, my colleagues. Here is my request for my colleagues. You know, let's visit 6 months. I know our finance director usually have a magic ball to bring more money from the sales tax revenue. Please be open, and when we see the midterm revenue reviews, and if you see some inclination there, I don't know whether by then Chief Casano will be ready for this group of people be already trained and they are working and covering offsetting the overtime. I don't know that, right? It's going to be probably delay. I sincerely request my team to be open, and since I'm clear here, 4 people said, no, let's stand it, but I felt it, and please revisit.
Is it fair to say that in December, we will know where the fire station at the Folsom Plant area is at that point in December?
In terms of timing, what do you think, Chief Casano? Will you have clarity that we're on track as planned by the end of the calendar year?
While the chief's walking down here, I would also say that by the time Stacy gives the first quarter financial report, we're going to know about that COPS grant that we just voted on. So we'll know how we're doing for the first
Right.
quarter and the grant.
Yeah, and if we get that grant, as I said, you know, that would be an opportunity to fund the one that's already in there, and then to get possibly one more and one for the following year, and also just an opportunity to revisit it if you don't get it, you know, if we don't get it. And I just wanted to comment, Councilmember Chalem Chairlev, please, as your city manager, know that if there's any windfall in sales tax revenue, I will come running into this chamber and be sure you all know, and that we can spend extra. You know, we will be very glad if there are surprises. You know, we hope our estimates are too conservative.
As far as the station construction, by this December, we will definitely know. As you know, we're getting ready to start the phase 1. That should be ready to go out to bid probably within the next month. And that's just for all the earthwork, which we're proposing we have completed by sometime in August, which is at that time we'll be looking to start the construction phase.
Okay, thank you. My last comment for our colleagues, I'm sorry, friends. Again, please do, I did it when I was working for state in large departments. Offsetting the people, overtime goes down. I just close it. Thanks. I have one more item, ma'am. I think I'm good with this.
Okay.
This one is a comment. Our Parks and Rec director is here. I was reviewing it, and quite a few of you know I'm the Volunteer of the Year award winner from our city, Chamber of Commerce. I'm active in so many places, and probably I'm going to quote my colleague Kozlowski also. When he was a mayor last time, we were all at the Community Service Day. I wish we could do small things like this every quarter or every frequently. How about that? Right? So I'm part of the Folsom Community Service Day Steering Committee, very active for the last 6 years. And 70 to 80% of the projects are coming from Parks and Rec. So my request is, once again, we have great minds here. I'm going to again echo what Mike said, great directors here. Take a look at, we have $5.9 million M&O, maintenance and operations budget right now. I'm not asking anything, but I sincerely want to take a look at city manager and other people here. They have several line items, small ones. Those are not salaries or benefits, M&O. And so many contracts are there. See whether we can save some monies which can buy or take hire volunteer coordinator. They have been asking, and I know we don't have money. Again, I'm going to be fair. I'm not asking for new money here anywhere, but we already have almost $6 million we are spending for M&O. And those contractors, I can give 2 examples, simple ones, where probably we can save money. Quite a few times we do the renovations or improvements for sidewalks and all those parks, planting new bushes and putting the mulch, all those are part of the contracts. And also we have a contract line items for all the vendors, pick up the garbage 5 feet from each sidewalk. Several of the times you all have seen the kind-hearted Folsom residents, they hold the bag and put the hat, they pick up the lot of garbage. I want to call out our councilwoman, when she was a mayor, she was picking up as well. Thank you again. So things like those can be done through the community engagement, through this community volunteer coordinator. Again, the monies come from savings or adjusting those contract line items and detouring. Just want to put that out there and see it, how it works. And also one more point I want to make. I know last time we did request, not firmly, casually, let's bring some solid approach for public-private partnership. That's another one where we can probably save some monies. There are so many generous donors in our town who wants to donate public-private partnership, putting a couple of benches. Rather, Parks and Rec buy it, getting that. Through this volunteer coordinator, probably we can engage those ones. I just want to make those 2 comments as a Parks and Rec and see how it goes, at least for the coming budget, whether we have a solid plan for public-private partnership and a reason to bring the volunteer coordinator for Parks and Rec. Thank you.
Any other comments from the council members?
I'll move adoption of resolution number 10861.
Second.
Any other comments before I call the question?
There was something that I wanted to bring up before we go there. So when we look at strategic planning and what we had, it really isn't strategic planning. It was more workshops and education, public education. So I had, in my agenda review, I talked to Elaine about taking some money and doing some true strategic planning, where we look at the city, we look at finances, we look at objectives, goals, long-term vision, and all that, and what the cost would be. And so it would be about 50 to 75,000, say 75,000. Is that I'd really be interested in us to be able to do something like that as a council that gives us a bit of direction, insight, vision, goals, long-term, short-term, and long-term.
Okay, and I think that's something that we can talk about, but it doesn't necessarily need to be included in this budget.
So then when does it get included?
Well, is that a realistic amount of money for going through a strategic?
Vice Mayor Rodriguez just asked
visioning
me that
process?
question at gender review, and I just was ballparking. I said 50 to 75. I have not, I don't know the market. I would, 75 may be appropriate, but I'm not sure what it would cost to do a comprehensive strategic plan.
That typically starts as a one-day thing.
Yeah, we
Maybe it goes 2 days. If you take the amount of money for what's usually a moderator or a couple moderators and the staff time involved and maybe a second meeting, that seems like a doable number. And that, for the most part, is within Elaine's signing authority anyway.
Is that what you had in mind, or something more than that?
No, something that gives us a document that we can work with, something that is really, short term, couple years into 5 years.
Is that ARPA funds can be used since it is one time? We still have some
To be
leftovers?
honest with you, I don't. To me, it doesn't matter where the funds come from, but I would really, I think that we as a council could benefit from doing some true strategic professional planning with a consultant.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in support.
But you're not suggesting that it be included in this budget? We can revisit that.
If it's not coming out of this budget, then when would it come out of? Or where would it come out of?
So, Ms. Tamani, what would you recommend? Should we bring it as a separate item under an ARPA allocation? If there's council consensus to, that
Well,
you're
I-
interested in that.
Before we even have the conversation, I'd like to know how much it's going to cost us. I know that was a pie in the sky number that you thought up, yesterday or something, or today?
Yeah,
So,
yesterday.
yeah, we need to know what that number is, and then we can discuss where it could come from.
Yeah, I think the vice mayor's suggestion has merit. And I think that if we have the flexibility to draw those dollars from one of the part of the ARPA funds and make that decision at a later date, I certainly would rather we do that sooner rather than later.
Okay, so are there at least 3 of you that are interested in me bringing back an item to, after doing some research and proposing to use, because I think it'll actually end up a bit over my signing authority, to be honest, to allocate ARPA dollars.
And I don't care where it comes from. I just want there to be a discussion about what the cost is expected to be.
Yeah, well, that would be part of the item, so.
Okay.
You want to do a straw poll, or do we have at least 3 here that are interested in doing that?
I'm interested.
Okay.
Mike's interested.
All right, okay, then we'll do that. We'll bring it back as soon as we can.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the budget. Can we call the question, please?
Councilmember Kozlowski?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Chirla?
My vote is yes. This is for passing this budget, right?
Yes.
I just want to call out, I know we talked a lot about fire, police. Just now I mentioned about park. I sincerely want to thank each and every director, executive management team here for putting this such a wonderful document. It has so much information, human resource to libraries to you name it. I don't want to miss anything. I sincerely want to thank, and please pass that message to your staff. My vote is yes.
And Mayor Howell?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that moves us on to item 15.
All right, good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Brett Bollinger. I'm the Senior Trails Planner for the Parks and Rec Department. And before you is adoption of the City of Folsom's first active transportation plan. It's been in partnership with Public Works. It's been a 2-year process, so we're excited to get this completed and move on to implementing the more than 300 projects that have been identified. So just to kind of recap, in the first 2 phases of this process, we received more than 2,500 comments. That included pop-up events on the trail, at farmers market. We also did public outreach events and stakeholder meetings, and also had, for both phases, interactive public comment map. So all those combined, we had more than 2,500 comments received. And the The theme we got from Folsom confirmed the importance of a well-connected and low-stress active transportation network. So specifically, safety is a primary concern for many. Participants indicated the need for not only more crossings throughout the city, but improved crossings where they currently don't exist. Gaps in the sidewalk network, which limit travel to destinations. So we have a lot of streets with missing sidewalks. And improved trail connections, including filling gaps in the network, but also helping more people access trails through wayfinding, improved on-street connections, and clear access points. And finally, many participants indicated a need for more protection on on-street bikeways along major arterial roads throughout the city. So from those feedback, we went to the project-specific recommendation phase, and we grouped all the various project recommendations into 3 categories. That included bikeway improvements, which include on-street and off-street bikeway connections, pedestrian improvements involving new sidewalks and filling in existing gaps, and spot improvements, which are an intersection or crossing-specific improvements that improve comfort and safety for all active modes. So from there, we took all those project-specific recommendations and opened up the draft ATP for public comment. We had it open for over 30 days. And during that time period, we went to the Traffic Safety Committee twice, Parks and Recreation Commission, Planning Commission, and of course, City Council to receive comments. And the one overarching theme we heard from all those hearings was, where do we start? So the draft ATP included more than 300 projects that will advance the safety and function of the active transportation network, with about 65 projects identified as high priority. Based on planning level cost estimates, we expect the cost to be hundreds of millions of dollars to implement all recommended projects, and approximately $88 million to implement the high priority projects. So, building on the prioritized project list presented in the draft ATP, Public Works and Parks and Rec staff selected 34 projects from the more than 300 projects that are recommended for the first phase of ATP implementation as part of this final active transportation plan. These projects are included in the first phase for a range of reasons, including active project grant applications, alignment with ongoing development, and input and and public input, staff input, and other factors. So using these listed implementation strategies, we are already working on implementing the phase 1 projects. Both Public Works and Parks and Rec are submitting Caltrans Active Transportation Program Cycle 6 grant applications for adding sidewalks on Riley Street and Dean Way, and also to fully fund the Folsom Placerville Rail Trail project. Applications are due tomorrow, so we're going to be submitting those tomorrow. The city has also earmarked funding in the draft budget, which is now an approved budget, for construction of the more than 3 miles of trails in the Mangini Ranch development. So that brings us to conclusion of this presentation. So from there, we have before you the adoption of the final active transportation plan. But before I open for any questions or comments, I want to acknowledge the letter we received today that you should have in front of you. Mr. Delp is the author of that letter that was submitted. And in it, he correctly brings up an issue with figure 4 in the final active transportation plan that is before you. And that is the existing sidewalks and pedestrian barriers exhibit map. And he did point out a bunch of streets that are currently missing sidewalks that aren't included on this map. And that is all correct, and staff will update this map to include those missing streets without sidewalks. But in the letter, he also was concerned about these projects not being elevated because they're not on this map. And this map has been around since one of the first maps we created for this process. But actually, if you go to the implementation chapter of the final ATP, all those streets listed in his letter are part of those project-specific projects in the implementation chapter. So, we have identified those as missing sidewalk gaps, and have provided cost estimates for those specific, implementing those sidewalks. So it's in there. Just this figure 4 is outdated, and we need to update that. So just want to make sure that's clear with council members. So from there, I'll open it up for questions and comments.
If everybody doesn't mind me jumping on that opportunity, I have a question for you.
Yes.
And the place to begin is at the very, very beginning, according to Julie Andrews in The Sound of Music. Within the historic district, categorizing the sidewalks as missing seems like it could end up being controversial, because I suspect that there are some people in those neighborhoods that don't miss a sidewalk at all and might miss their parking spaces more. So I'm just wondering, what is the level of foregone conclusion if this is adopted with replacing the red or blue or gold lines with sidewalks on either side of those streets?
That's a good question.
How do we get there with that? I mean, notwithstanding the barrier of funding, right? So
I think it's fair to say that that same comment would also apply to some of the other neighborhoods in the community that are deliberately constructed without sidewalks.
Yeah.
Were we to move forward with an ATP grant application or some other form of grant, it would have a robust outreach program to educate the public about the benefits and challenges associated with having sidewalks in their neighborhood. We could also incorporate some sort of a polling of property owners to make sure that we have at least a majority consensus before we invest too much into the construction in a given neighborhood.
Okay.
Brett, I have a question. I don't know if you remember this table off the top of your head, but it's table for bicycle facility miles by classification. So for example, existing mileage, we have 50.3 miles of class 1 bike trails right now. Then there's a column that says proposed mileage 39.9, right? And then there's a column that says upgraded mileage and then full build out. So when we have this full build out, we'll have 90.2 miles of class 1 bike trails.
That is about correct,
Okay.
give or take a couple miles here. and
I
there.
guess I'm not understanding what the upgraded mileage is, because that gets subtracted from the existing and the proposed.
That's a good question. I'm not sure I can answer it right now, but I could definitely follow up with that.
Okay.
But currently, north of Highway 50, we have a little over 50 miles, give or take a mile. And then in the Folsom Plan area, we have another 30 miles of planned trails there.
Yeah, and there's nothing listed for upgraded mileage for class 1, but on some of the other ones there are. And so like I said, it takes the existing mileage, it adds the proposed mileage. For whatever reason, it subtracts the upgraded mileage, and then it gives you the full build-out number. And then I have a question for the city attorney. I do just have some very minor edits, like typos and stuff. Is that something that I can give to staff once this is adopted, or do we have to wait? I mean, nothing that changes the, material nature of this.
Typographical errors are totally okay if
Okay.
you would just give them to staff.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
That's great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you do not have any request to speak on this item.
This is not first reading, it is just adoption, right?
That's
And
correct.
we read these 90 pages in last 72 hours. Okay, I didn't do a good job, I just want to be honest. If there is an-
Unfortunately, YK, that's kind of the way this job works.
We're gonna.
Well,
Second time we've seen it,
There's
so.
going to be a
Yeah.
question. There's
Exactly.
going to be a test on page 78. So
yeah.
This did come before you in April.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, do we have a motion?
I'll move adoption of the resolution number 10871.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Kozlowski,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Aquino,
Yes.
Chalem-Chella,
Yes.
and Howell.
Yes. that moves us on to item 16. Welcome, newlywed.
Thank you. You'll forgive me if I would rather still be in Puerto Vallarta. Okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm Mark Rackovan, your Public Works Director. The item before you this evening is the renewal of a lease agreement between the City of Folsom and the Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad, PSVR for short. For the benefit of the public, I'll provide a brief background on the Y property itself, PSVR's operations, and the history of this lease. So the Y property, it depicted on the exhibit on the screen, is located just north of Bidwell Street and east of Folsom Boulevard. Originally, this was the junction of two rail lines that made up the Sacramento-Placerville rail line. Two of the trackways, two of the three original trackways are still there, and those are part of the lease area. The third one, which was on the west side of the Y, was removed. I can't remember if that was for the light rail project or if it was gone before that. The Y property also includes the station master's house and grounds, which is shown in blue.
I believe it was removed for light rail.
That's what I was thinking. Thank you. So that's a brief summary of the Y property itself. PSVR is a nonprofit organization that focuses on preserving Folsom's rail history and heritage. They do this through various rail activities along the Southern Pacific, Sacramento-Placerville Transportation Corridor, which is the rail line that runs through the middle of the city of Folsom. They do have several pieces of rolling stock that they either use for their passenger service, that they hope to incorporate into their passenger service, or for the maintenance of the trackway. They also maintain the areas that are under their lease, including the station master house and grounds. So the lease dates back to 2005, and originally this was an agreement between the City of Folsom and the Folsom El Dorado Sacramento Historic Railroad Association, FEDSRA. You all know Bill Anderson, who is our local rail historian. Back in 2005, FEDSRA leased a little bit under 14,000 square feet for the storage of rail equipment and supplies. That lease has been renewed on 3 separate occasions, each in 4-year increments, to either expand the lease area, to add a summary of all of the rolling stock that is maintained on the site, and then also to add the station master's house and grounds to the lease. The third amendment was in 2017, and there were no conditions other than to extend it for 4 years. However, during that 4-year term, FEDSRA requested that the lease be assigned to PSVR so that FEDSRA can focus on their rail history museum in the historic district. And PSVR was utilizing the site anyways as their base of operations for their excursion rail. So that was approved in October of 2019, but the term of the lease was not changed. So therefore, that lease still expired in November of 2021. So the item before you today is a recommendation to extend the lease for another four years, the lease with PSVR, but we also need you to approve that this lease is exempt from CEQA under the category of an existing facility where the lease is not appreciably changing the facility itself. So I think If approved, staff will draft the amended lease in a form that is acceptable to the city attorney. We will then execute the signatures on the lease with PSVR, and it will be in effect until November of 2025. That's the recommendation before you this evening. With that, I'll conclude my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Any questions for Mark?
No questions.
If I could just add a little bit of information to this. So the Y property is one of the properties that the ad hoc committee visited in our, quest to look at unutilized or underutilized city properties. And part of the recommendation that will be coming back from the committee about this property will be, for example, right there where it says city-owned Y property, that part is being used by the city as an auxiliary corporation yard. So you'll see, big piles of wood chips, for example. And so one of the recommendations I think that will come from the committee is move that auxiliary corp yard to the future corp yard south of White Rock, which, Mark has already said is doable. I think the feeling from the committee is that, Folsom Boulevard is a gateway to the city.
Sir, can I just ask one question of both you and Mark?
Yeah.
I was under the understanding that that portion of the site was actually being used by one of our contract landscapers.
No, actually, my department stores different piles of debris and bark and
Okay, at one
other
point, there
material
was a
there.
landscaper out there.
There is outside the city property, that JWA
Okay.
or whatever is outside
Yeah,
the city
okay.
property.
Yeah, see
All
the
right.
little triangle just below the Y property is JWA Landscaping.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But my point is that the committee is going to come back with a recommendation, about some things that we'd like to see with this property, realizing that Folsom Boulevard is a gateway to the city and this property has a lot of potential. And so I had a conversation with Mr. Harville today because I didn't want to take him by surprise, but what I would like to see happen is rather than agreeing to another 4 years, retro to November 2021, that we just start with 2 years and we work with PSVRR to see, what their short-term and long-term business plan is, what they plan, what they envision with this site, to make sure that we're using this in the best way that's possible for the city. It kind of goes along with our comments about, economic development and that sort of thing. So just wanted to let you know that this is an area of study for the ad hoc committee.
And I'm just going to add one thing to that. Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm assuming this is north to south. So the northern part of that central, where the arrowhead is for current lease area, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that property actually owned by the JPA?
The one that shows as current lease area is the city's owned portion of the Y. The southernmost track, right below where it says city-owned Y property, that is the leg that is part of SPTC.
Okay, and there's still track there?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry, I asked Mark that question, sir, and I didn't explain to you what that meant. So the southern portion, you can look at it, but that's actually owned by the Rail JPA?
Well, that's fine.
So the yellow hatched area, which is contiguous right now, you're saying has two different ownerships?
It does. The city of Folsom does have a transportation easement over the entire section of the SPTC corridor from the Y property all the way to White Rock Road.
Excellent. Okay. And then the part of this property that is not currently hatched, that's what you were talking about in terms of it's currently being used for
Auxiliary
storage.
courtyard, yeah.
So Sarah, to your suggestion about doing a 2 instead of a 4-year lease here, the lease is actually going to be backdated to last year, right? So you're talking about actually having a 1-year lease. And the result of any suggestions there is probably not going to be to remove the rails, is it?
No.
Okay, so it feels to me like we can still go ahead with a 4-year lease, knowing that the real sunset is actually 3 years in the future, and kind of be able to do the exact same collaboration that you're describing. Because there's a whole center section that is not utilized by the rail folks, and
Correct, but I think the part that is where it says currently this area, that's not part of whatever those other acronym was.
yeah.
I don't know how to say this any other way, and I'm sorry, Jim, I don't mean to offend you, but in many, this is a repository for railroad stuff at the moment, okay?
course.
And there is like a passenger car out there that was donated that could be fabulous. I think that we as a city want to know that, hey, if we're gonna let you use this property for, it appears $0 because there's no dollar value in this thing, that it's being used to its full potential. And again, I fully support honoring and promoting and celebrating Folsom's railroad history, and I want to see that continue. But I just want to make sure that this property is truly a gateway to the city, and it's not just going to be a junkyard for things that nothing is ever going to happen with.
That's fair.
And I think if we could just, again, I don't want to pull the rug from under PSVRR, but if we could say, hey, we want to, let's sit down, let's look at your business plan, because they have plans for what they would ultimately like to see this be too. And maybe Jim wants to speak to that, but I just think that we need to not lock ourselves into anything until we can really, work together and try to make something really remarkable with this property. And Rosario, if you want to add anything, feel free.
I think, for me, what I would like to see really is a presentation from Jim that gives basically a sort of overall summary. Him and I talk periodically, and I get excited when I think of the potential that this program has for the city. But maybe that's where we need to start, is with a presentation to us that gives us sort of a little background, maybe the current use, and then what the future plan is. And I think that will give us.
Jim's got a speaker card in for tonight.
Oh, okay, all right. So, but something that gives them, because I've walked this several times in the last couple of years. Actually, my campaign photo was right on one of those trains, because I think it's really an exciting part of the city. But I do agree with you that when you walk in it, it does look sometimes a little, junky kind of. So maybe getting some information from Jim on what the plan is, I think will give us a better picture of what this is. Something with photos, something with.
So my last question, I think maybe for the city attorney, is there some urgency to us doing this extension now or in the next couple months?
Only that it's expired.
No
It's
urgency
expired.
as long as the city continue to allow the current position to be there
Yeah.
at the city council's permission until this matter can be more formalized into some kind of a written lease.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any problem with then asking for some, maybe right now, public comment so that Jim can get started on explaining what the long-term prospects and plans are there.
We now have 2 requests to speak. So we have one from Jim Haverhill and another one from Mr. Holderness. Jim, come on up. Mr. Holderness?
May I go first? I want to comment about matters other than the lease itself.
Okay. Jim, if you're okay with that?
Yeah. Mayor and members, Robert G. Holderness. I wasn't expecting to address the council tonight on this or any other matter, but I have to point out that while I know that some folks on that committee, of which I am not a member, I might add, have dreams about great development in that particular area, I'd point out that there are 2 barriers to that dream. One is my client, Kikkoman Foods, that has a food processing plant on the other side of Bidwell Street and owns property pretty well up to the roadway. And the point of that being is there's not going to be any intense development on their property. They need the buffer to the plant. And the other thing I would point out is something that's stuck in my craw for more than 40 years, and that is on the other side of this property is a mobile home park that ain't going anywhere. And as long as that mobile home park is there, the opportunities to develop the Y property into something special are pretty depreciated by that circumstance, and it isn't going anywhere. We've looked at trying to find a way to upgrade that property. I don't think so. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Jim, you're next.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Jim Harville, President of Placerville and Sacramento Valley Railroad. First, I want to thank Mark for his very concise summary. This is a convoluted project, it has been from the beginning, and as I've had conversations with each of you, sometimes it's hard to trim it down to the bare essentials. As Mark indicated, the upper hatched portion is city property. The buffer around the lower rail line is JPA property and is part of our operating license, whereas the other portion is strictly under the lease agreement in question here. I think I've described it to several of you as our industrial chic is our design aesthetic. Down there, it is an industrial site, and again, as I've shared with several of you, no one wants us to get rid of the eyesores more than our program. The reality, however, that when you look at that upper portion, a lot of the piles of equipment that you see there are actually JPA-owned infrastructure that were taken out of the crossings through town. There are stacks of rail that we are actually in the process of moving and reorganizing that do not belong to our program. So
But ideally, we're hoping will be reused.
Yes.
At new crossings and south of the freeway.
Yes, yeah, and we'll
some of which
continue
was
that.
also donated by RT.
Yes, right. So, in essence, our vision, and this has been kicked around and put before various city councils over the years. In fact, there was a scale model about the size of this podium here that was around for a while. We would love to eventually see this turned into a railroad-themed public park with the superintendent's house as a restored interpretive center, and the rail activity here being more the boutique, the restoration aspects of it. All of this heavy industrial storage stuff, whether it be JPA equipment or equipment owned by PSVR, would be moved off-site, right? That is our goal. Now, obviously, we've just come through an earth-changing or a world-changing pandemic. We are currently suspended in our full-size train operations. We're hoping to be able to resume those soon as we resolve the issues with the crossing south of Highway 50. But when we were shut down for the pandemic, our volunteer base goes away. So not only does our revenue go away, our volunteer base goes away. We are currently moving forward on several areas on this property, and we continue to make progress, but not as much as we would have liked. 3 years ago, our plans 3 years ago, were much different than what we're faced with today. So there is that factor. Whether it's extended to 23 or just a regular 4 years, a little background on that. The operating license is set to renew again in the fall of 23, which is what Sarah's recommendation is here. Now, it has been our long-range strategy. We've been working on in 5-year increments with our operating license my long-term strategy was to use this next renewal as a jump to the 7-year mark, get us out to 2030, and then renew in 10-year increments after that. It's also been part of one of my objectives to align the Y property lease with the operating license agreement. Okay, so you know,
You can try to get them
the
aligned.
will of the council.
You can try to get them aligned, but the JPA is a completely different animal, so.
I do understand that. I do understand that. But from a presentation standpoint, right? We are, again, because of the pandemic, past due in bringing a presentation, you know, to this council. We've brought presentations in the past that go into, you know, fair amount of detail in what we've accomplished to date and what we plan for the future, and we're eager to do that again sooner rather than later.
Jim,
for the council.
is it fair to say, based on those comments then, that this lease coming up for renewal again in 23 or 24 is immaterial to you?
As far as the Y lease?
Yeah.
You know, you could kick us off there tomorrow and it's not going to get cleaned up for 10 years. So, you know, I mean, it's an industrial site. It was an industrial site when we arrived. Right.
Of course.
In fact, you can see where the superintendent's house is. You see a small brown-roofed rectangular structure. That was a shade structure put up by city staff long before we put there. It's in disrepair and it's a safety issue now. And within the next couple of weeks, that's going to be coming down and demolished and the debris removed.
Okay.
Right? So,
given that that's not part of the current lease area, who's doing that? You
it would
guys?
be. It would be. Well, we're. As part of the agreement, part of what we do to earn the right to exist there
Mark.
is we take
Mark,
care
can you
of
come
the,
up?
Yeah. So.
One second, Jim.
Yeah.
So that the station master's property is not part of the current lease area, but the PSVR guys are taking care of it for us.
No, actually, it is part of the current lease.
All right. Well, it's just, you know,
patched differently.
Yeah, this isn't, sorry, this is an older exhibit that we were asked to put up because it shows a lot more detail than what we have in the staff report.
And just as a reminder, formerly, the station master's house was not under the lease agreement. The city was responsible for maintaining it, and the city did basically an abysmal job at maintaining it because the building was broken into multiple times and effectively destroyed on the inside of the building. So, and that's basically eligible for the National Register as I recollect.
I believe it's on the register now.
So, but these guys, these railroad guys, as well as the previous railroad guys, have made numerous offers and are now the ones that are finally doing something to get that site so it's much more presentable. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
So I think that's all the input I have for you. If you have any other questions, happy to answer them.
I'm still available to help with the coach.
Okay, well, okay, and let's talk about the coach. We have some seed money, we have some grant money. Again, I need an operating railroad to draw the volunteers from the community and to generate the revenue that we need to achieve the goals that the city council wants us to achieve.
Which means we need to cross White Rock Road, and we need to get those crossings in place south of the freeway.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
Do we want, Sarah, I think you have an idea if we can go with the 2 years? It's already
how about I make a
behind the
motion and-
scenes.
and I'll make a motion and you, we'll see if there's a second. I'm going to move to adopt resolution number 10868. However, the sixth whereas would say the term of the renewal shall be 2 years, starting November 2021. And then I would ask that we give direction to staff that prior to this coming back in November 2023, we have a presentation from PSVRR, and that future lease agreements be subject to having like a business plan or something like that on file with the city, so that we can all understand that we're we're moving forward.
I'll second.
I know railroad is a passion. So I hope you already talked to him because
Yes.
they invested their, blood, sweat, everything, right? So we want to
Yes,
make sure.
I will not take him by surprise, and we talked on the phone today.
Awesome.
And just so that you guys know, there is a business plan, but the city has effectively completely disrupted it because of the fact that the rails have not been replaced south of the freeway.
And that will be included in the presentation as maybe a pain point of the.
Well, that's, my only problem
program.
is that, and Mark knows this, that I've had an issue with the fact that we have not done what we promised we were going to do south of the freeway with respect to the rail lines. And so my concern is that we bring these guys back 2 years from now. If the city still has not done what it was supposed to do, then it looks like it's going to go back on these guys. So I'm more inclined to let it go to let the language go as is, as the staff resolution was prepared. Because we're the ones that have been letting them down. They've had a business plan in place for 10 years. And I hate to see this go by the wayside because the city's not living up to its end of the bargain. And so far, we are absolutely not. And Mark's tired of hearing this from me.
Well, this probably may be giving some push to both sides, city as well as organization. If we can do it in 15, 16 months, then even the plan, the preliminary presentation.
I would agree. Having it come back in a couple of years will allow us to really discuss where's the holdup. And I think at this point, it could push the city to get what you're talking about done. I mean, I would feel the pressure.
So we have.
Feeling the pressure, Mark?
Point of clarification, that's actually a community development project. It's a challenge that not to throw Pam under the
look at
bus,
the buck passing.
I have been
Pam,
working
are you
with.
feeling anxious right now?
No. I've been working with Steve Cron and Kelly Butcher to try to find a resolution to the situation.
Thank you.
We are trying to do it in increments. We're trying to get the striping and signing in place as a short-term goal and work on actually finding someone who will construct the crossings, because the funding is being collected. It's part of the specific plan infrastructure fee, but it's part of the same fee that is building the roads, the water conveyance, the drainage facilities. And so that's the challenge that your staff is facing, is where do we slot these railroad crossings in amongst all the other needs south of 50?
Well, as I suggested, I think at the last meeting, when assistance from utilities is required, please get assistance from utilities. And in this instance, Mark Rackavan, besides me, knows more about the rail JPA than anyone, possibly even including Jack Sweeney, who sat on that board with me for 20 years. So please get the assistance that you need from Mark, and know that Mark, have I ever let this go in 24 years?
No, ma'am.
You don't want to get that phone call.
We will keep plugging away. We are working.
Okay. And the other person to perhaps have Pam meet with is Derek from the Connector JPA. Because that's how we get the line over there.
And I just wanted to add as a point of discussion that we are conducting, I think Councilmember Aquino brought it up at a previous meeting, we're conducting a historical analysis of the superintendent's building on the site, just to make sure as we move ahead that we're not doing anything that's historically detrimental to the site.
Madam Mayor, were you making a substitute motion for the 4 years or just thinking out loud?
Well, we didn't have a second on the
Yeah,
first
we
motion.
did.
We did.
Okay.
I'll second it if it's a substitute motion. We can consider it.
Okay.
Consider it.
Thank you.
So we're going to vote on the substitute first, whether it should be 4 years.
4 years from last November.
Right.
Which kind of makes it 3 and a little.
Yeah.
Which is like in between 2 and 4. Okay. Call the question on the substitute motion.
Councilmember Kozlowski,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
No, I would like to see this come back 2 years and figure out where this pain point is and to be able to move it forward.
Aquino,
No.
Chalem-Cherla,
No.
and Howell.
Yes.
Okay, that failed 3-2. The substitute motion, which would then return us to the original motion.
Okay, original motion?
Councilmember Kozlowski,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Aquino,
Yes.
Chalem-Cherla,
Yes.
and Howell.
I'm going to vote no, and the reason is that that does not coincide with the existing lease that the railroad folks have with the JPA. And I think it would be completely and totally inappropriate to not renew the lease when they have operating circumstances that the city of Folsom has adversely impacted for the last couple of years. So I'll be voting no.
Okay, the vote passes 4-1.
Okay. That moves us on to item 17.
Item 17 is resolution number 10870, a resolution of consideration of the City Council of the City of Folsom to amend the rate and method of apportionment for improvement area number 6 within the City of Folsom CFD number 23, Folsom Ranch, and related matters.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Stacy Tamani, CFO. This item before you tonight is a request from the landowners within the Folsom Plan area to amend improvement area number 6 within CFD 23. Landowners within the Folsom Plan area previously requested to form CFD 23 in 2020. The CFD includes 7 separate improvement areas. They're designated as Improvement Area 1 through Improvement Area 7. And landowners have requested to amend the rate and method of apportionment for Improvement Area number 6. Currently, proposed development within Improvement Area 6 includes 9.46 acres of multifamily medium density, 9.26 acres of multifamily high density, and 11.71 acres of non-residential property. The rate and method of apportionment for Improvement Area 6, if approved, will be amended to adjust the maximum facility special tax rates on certain land use categories within that improvement area. This slide here shows the proposed changes. The amendment would eliminate the facility's special tax from the high density and the non-residential properties. Medium density would remain the same at the $30,600. There are no proposed amendments to the services special tax rates, and there's no financial impact to the city's general fund related to this proposed amendment. And so with that, staff is recommending approval of resolution number 10870.
Any questions of staff? I don't. Any requests from the public?
No questions. I'll move resolution number 10870.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Kozlowski?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Cherla?
Yes.
And Howell.
Yes. That moves us to city manager reports.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Folsom provides essential public services and facilities that maintain and contribute to our community's high quality of life. To help protect that quality of life now and in the future, we are evaluating possible options to generate additional revenue to address the forecasted budget gap that has been discussed with the City Council many times. Our community's opinions matter, and we are listening. We want to ensure we include our community in the conversation. Survey input will be shared with the City Council before important decisions regarding essential City of Folsom services are made. The community can learn more and take the survey at folsom.ca.us/Folsom Listens. And as I mentioned in my budget remarks earlier, we have received more than 35 responses to date on the online and mailed survey. Fire safety is a top priority for the City of Folsom. Crews contracted by the city will begin to remove ladder fuel this week. The work will be conducted in open space areas, parks, and landscaping and lighting districts. Ladder fuel consists of living or dead vegetation. This vegetation is easily ignitable under the right conditions. And can cause fires to spread into much larger fires that are very difficult for crews to contain. And you can learn more about that on Folsom Fire's website. Beginning July, all residents will be required to recycle their food waste to comply with SB 1383, a state law designed to reduce emissions of climate pollutants. Starting July 1st, your current yard waste container will become your organics container. Mix yard waste along with bagged food scraps. The new process will require food scraps and food soiled paper to be bagged in clear plastic or compostable bags before being mixed with yard waste. Do not start sooner. The current process for green waste disposal does not yet support food waste. Learn more at folsom.ca.us/organics. And because we didn't have quite enough to worry about, the city's voicemail system decided to stop working this week. So the information technology team is working closely with AT&T. In the meantime, we have updated our homepage and our websites and our social media page with a series of announcements saying if you haven't heard from us and you left a message since Friday, bear with us. We will answer the calls, but they will just keep ringing. They won't go to the voicemail that people are used to. Better yet, please email, and every department's website has a robust list of email addresses. And finally, neighborhoods across the country will take a stance against crime in their neighborhoods by hosting National Night Out on Tuesday, August 2nd. The Folsom Police Department encourages neighborhoods to host events that evening to get to know their neighbors. Residents are encouraged to host an event and register online by July 14th, and you can learn more on the police department's webpage. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Rosario.
Don't have much. Just get your tickets if you're going to the rodeo. They will sell out, and it is a very exciting few days. And also, Happy Flag Day. That's it.
Sarah.
I'll just quickly report out on ACAPS, Association of California Cities Allied with Public Safety, that I represent the city on. This is an association that was formed in the 80s, basically for cities with prisons. And Steve Miklos represented the city for many, many years. He actually now still sits on the board. They changed the bylaws a couple years ago, so he represents the Folsom Chamber of Commerce on it. But
He has had the strangest attraction to that committee.
Anyway, I don't know that ACAPS will be viable for much longer. We actually have a board meeting on Thursday. The membership over the years has dwindled. As you know, different electeds have retired or been voted out of office, or whatever, people maybe who represented their city in the past, and new council members perhaps don't have that same passion for it. So actually, only 2 out of the 5 of us on the board currently hold elected office. I am currently the chair this year, and I have reached out to all of the mayors via phone call and email of cities who have been members of ACAPS in the the last few years. I did not receive one call back or email back. So I don't think there is an interest. Maybe cities have their own lobbyists or whatever, and they don't find the value in the association. So anyway, we're going to have a very frank discussion on Thursday about the viability, because we don't have enough membership dues to pay the lobbyist at her contract rate. So anyway, I'll keep you posted.
Okay. Once again, I just want to repeat what I said during the budget season. I was one of those staffer when I was doing budgets for state. It's a lot of work from the staff side, even from the middle management all the way to director. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you so much. We passed. And the second one is, I'm a part of the Sacramento Cable Commission. So last meeting, they elected a chair and vice chair. They gave Folsom, YK, as a vice chair for that commission. That's one new one. And one crazy thing pop up, I think you guys can advise me. When all these graduations going on for high schools and middle schools, I won't see a formal invite to our mayor, vice mayor, council. I feel personally, a mayor, if time permits, or vice mayor, a formal invite coming from the school board. Because they're our kids. We want to shake hand and wish him all the best for their future. They're in our town. So it's a thought. I probably may bring it to our 2x2 and put in front of them a formal invite from school board.
I think I can just take care of that by reaching out to the superintendent. That's very reasonable, and I will
yeah.
make sure that happens for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I just weigh in, though, as a former school board member? I believe we did used to invite members of the council and stuff, but you would not be on stage and you will not be formally shaking anybody's hand. That is an honor. That is reserved for the school board. So, yeah.
No, I'm okay with that one. Wishing, even from
Yeah.
front
Okay, so
seat to.
I'll talk to the superintendent about back row seats for all of you.
Although I got to say that they recorded them, and I watched all of the recordings, and it was really neat watching it. Even though we weren't there, it was really nice to watch them and see the graduates graduate.
YK, it's usually like 95 degrees on the day of graduation on the field at Vista Del Lago. It's pretty warm. Okay.
Well, they're our kids. Thank you, though. The other one is, I attended recently, a couple of weeks ago. Sarah was there as well. Chamber hosted an event, Meet the Leaders. And the topic was, encourage me. I attended previous ones, Drew from, I forgot the organization name. It's about the water. Bureau of Reclamation, and Marcus Yasataki, from City of Folsom.
Drew
They gave
Lissard and Marcus were the speakers.
And they did an awesome job. But one thing caught my eyes. Again, I just want to this is for public. Yes, we have a 90% lake full, but they're helping other low-level lakes in general, the region. By December, the lake level is going to go down to 20%. That's what the projections they have shown. Again, I want to request the residents, use water wisely. So we do have a water problem, even though our lake is 90% full. And last but not least, again, it's my passion. Whenever there is a retirement or some celebrations in the staff, I love to join and be part of them as one of their colleagues. Please extend invites to me. And thank you again. Good night, Folsom.
Mike.
Okay, I'm just going to briefly talk about what I talked about at the last city council meeting, which was the discussion of the transportation ballot measure that you all will see on your November ballot. There is a citizens committee placing a half-cent sales tax measure to pay for transportation improvements throughout Sacramento County. That group, I sit on the board of SACOG, which is the Sacramento Area Council of Governments representing the city of Folsom right now. And SACOG has the responsibility given to it by the state of California to plan for greenhouse gas emission targets that get issued by CARB, which is the California Air Resources Board, under a bit of legislation called SB 375 that was passed some time ago. The proponents of that measure rightly were directing all the funding to another bit of the alphabet soup, which is the STA, which is the Sacramento Transportation Agency, which our vice mayor sits on, currently representing the city of Folsom, and not acknowledging the fact that SACOG has this overlaying responsibility to chart out greenhouse gas emission and how transportation projects affect land planning decisions that every one of our communities makes that's part of SACOG throughout the region. So the discussion about that kind of broke down into a couple of camps where one said, we don't really need to do anything, we got it, you have this job, and the other saying, hey, no, we really have this job, we really need to be able to take a look at the measure in total. So after much negotiation, we achieved some language that is going to be put before the SACOG board this Thursday, which I believe will be accepted by the board, that restates and acknowledges the fact that SACOG has its role, that the funding should in fact be distributed by STA, as is its job, but that both parties acknowledge that there are greenhouse gas emission targets that the six-county region has been instructed to make its full effort to meet by the state of California. So the good news here is that we did reach some language that redefines those roles or restates those roles that I think that all of the agencies that are involved can agree to. But the real headline underlying all of this is if you have any interest at all in transportation projects, specifically ones in the city of Folsom, that if that measure is supported by voters throughout the county, there will be funding, that part of the funding for our interchange at Oak Avenue will be part of that. part of the funding for other parts of the Southeast Connector will be part of that, and lots of other transportation projects over the next 40 years. So it's a good opportunity to be able to fund those kind of things. And the kind of really new thing that we are doing here in our region that hasn't happened much yet throughout the state is that the measure is designed to not only pay for those projects, but acknowledge and mitigate for the greenhouse gas emissions that will result as a part of some of those projects. So there's funding for both things, which is kind of a new development in terms of trying to live up to greenhouse gas emission standards. So anyway, you can love it or you can hate it, but it's worthwhile for everybody to understand what's going on. Each of the agencies that's party to will be party to a memorandum of understanding will get a chance for their board to take action on it in the next month or 6 weeks. And that ballot measure, they've collected signatures to put it on the November ballot, have plenty, so you're liable to see it. So there you go. There's my full report on that topic. Thank you.
Any other topics?
Nah, that's plenty.
Okay.
That's as succinct as I can make that story.
Okay, the RT board meeting was last night. They're moving forward with opening up the safe parking zone at the Roseville Road station. So that should be in operation in coming weeks, I believe. Nothing exciting going on at Regional SAN, which is a good thing. No rate increases, nothing like that. The only controversial thing that's going on there is people are trying to bring in new technology to the planned Biogen project, which is a $125 million project, and we have some of the folks that sit on the RT board trying to get the contract that's basically in the works and was ready to go out on the street changed to include technologies that have not been proven in wastewater applications. So I was rather vocal. Thank you, Mr. Kozlowski, for addition of the word unreliable in that particular application. So I'm having a bit of consternation at that board on technical issues. The usual warnings about red light runners, people not stopping at stop signs, not even close to stopping at stop signs, and speeding. And, you know, I think, pretty sure we all got that email about a week and a half ago from a lady who wants us to just go in and put all the speed limits to 25 or something, thinking that somehow that's going to resolve the problem. And thanks to whoever it was in Public Works that explained what the 85th percentile means. I generally preface that with, in the old world, you know, 85% of the people could be counted on to drive a reasonable speed. I'm not sure that that necessarily applies anymore. So that's my issue with the 85th percentile. So happy Flag Day. For those of you that remember, Cindy Dow was also today. Diana's birthday was today. Her mom passed away several years ago. And on that subject, we lost a very, very important member of this community a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting in honor of Cindy Baker, who will be missed.